Good morning,
Oh my God.
Looks like we have a little bit of technical difficulties on the Zwift side. If you are following my feed here, it looks like my rider is riding on the water. This is pretty interesting. We'll go on side view. That looks pretty interesting there.
Yeah, I'm on the water too. I can't find you yet, but I'm on the water.
That's pretty interesting. All right, now back on the road. Oh, it was a shortcut. That's it. It was a shortcut. I'm back on the road. All right, welcome everybody. We are about to get started here. We are just getting past. Let's see. I don't even know where everyone else is, but I'm going to need to hold this pace. But we'll go ahead and get started on our end as far as the presentation. So for those that are on Discord and on Zwift Live, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to get this shared out to our partners, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm not showing anyone on the island right now. We must have just had a perfect storm where looks like there had been a server crash. Looked like other riders on the audio stream as well as in-game have disappeared and tried to jump back into the game, but not able to get to. Says that it's looking for riders, but has not found our riders, but we will press on. Let me just get this shared out and then we'll go ahead and get started. For those on the live feed, you still get all the wonderful, great information here. For those on the ride, I do apologize. I am not jumping in back with you guys. I do not know where everyone is. I'm barely starting to show any riders, and there are riders passing by me, but not showing up in the riders nearby list. But thanks for hanging with us. We're going to make this work. All right, so we'll go ahead and get switched over. It's not too long of a presentation today. We'll take our time. I've got a lot of good information to share. Let me just make sure everything is running and working out there, and then we'll go. Looking good. Again, good morning to In the Feed Zone. This is normally on at 5:45 Pacific, 8:45 Eastern, and 13:45 GMT. Thanks for joining us. Just a quick audio check everywhere here, and looks like everything's coming through. Nadia, sounds like we've got audio on that end. That's great. On the stream looks good, and Discord looks good. All right, let's get started. All right, so really interesting today. Topic, we'll be talking about my little experiment with a product that we had chatted about with the founder and owner a couple weeks ago, Endurance 360. But before that, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Jason Flores. I go by JFlow here on Zwift. So definitely look me up. Usually doing workouts on here. So if you're looking for a workout or want to work out with one of our OD Zwifters, join the next Endurance Lab on Team ODZ. Definitely check those two things out on the Team ODZ public page. And if you have questions, definitely reach out and I can answer any of those questions. All right. So let's see. Oh, look at that. Picked up another rider. Excellent. All right, so quick medical disclaimer. The only purpose of this live stream is to educate and to inform. It's no substitute for professional care by a doctor or other qualified medical professional. Its live stream is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute any medical or professional advice. Welcome. Thanks for jumping on, Jamel and Eric. Welcome to the stream. Glad you can join us this morning. Sure, those guys are doing workouts this morning too. All right, some quick goals of the live stream today. Is to present current articles in the media covering food and hydration and how it relates to endurance sports, and open a dialogue for viewers to ask questions, to get advice, and talk about their experiences. Good morning, Mitch. Good morning, Pat. Thanks for joining in today. All right, so the topic today is Endurance 360, essentially their complete endurance formula. And what we're looking at, or what we're going to be looking at, is just going over a little bit about, if you missed this live stream a couple weeks ago, kind of what's inside, what makes it tick, what makes it work. And I'm going to share my 4-week training block where I washed out of all the supplements I was taking the month before, kind of got a good 1-week washout period, and I went full head on with Cameron Hoffman's advice on how to take his product Endurance 360, and my experience with the full training block, and my ride to some of the epic climbs here in Southern California, specifically Glendora Mountain Ridge and Mount Baldy with the product. So here's the product you see here on the screen. You've got a couple things that it kind of notes about: lactic acid buffering, cellular oxygenation, muscular endurance, and energy blend, kind of the main topics, and kind of the little kind of products and ingredients that help with that. And I'll go through each of those today before I kind of share some of my experiences today. They've got two different formulas. One is without caffeine, and this one showing now it does have caffeine. It's about 130 milligrams of caffeine, but that, along with beta alanine, definitely in my experience is pretty much lighting a match on fire. So if you're a coffee drinker, you could actually leave it off. This can definitely be that replacement for those days that you're doing a workout and you're trying to get fired up for it. Definitely can be a replacement for that. So the couple of products and kind of how they work, if you haven't heard of some of the supplement kind of combinations that are in here, Endurance 360 Complete Endurance has these amounts, or actually the most effective amounts found in the science, as far as showing benefits to riders, both on training days and days that you're off the bike. So this is something you take every day. And so some of the products, we'll start off and kind of just go down the list, and I'll talk about a little bit of an introduction of each of these. We've done almost an episode for each of these, so you can go back to our YouTube channel for Team ODZ. You can go back on Zwift Live and go back and take a look and see more information specifically on a lot of these, like beta alanine and creatine. The first two I've actually done complete look at exactly how they're used and how they work. So beta alanine, it's a non-essential amino acid, and it boosts carnosine within the muscles. And during that live stream, if you remember, carnosine is the part that gives us essentially endurance, or the amount to continue for longer periods of time. So beta alanine is kind of like the long haul, your ability to continue at an aerobic effort. Wow, I just got jumped to another world. And then, so there's multiple positive effects for endurance athletes that in the studies, as well as after 3 weeks of consistent beta alanine supplementation of VO2 max has improved as much as 32% in some riders. So definitely ability to continue at a long aerobic pace and increasing that amount of wattage, amount of work you can do at the max aerobic level. Is what we found, or what has been found in the science. So very, very interesting in that respect. Continuing on that, there's been improvements in performance during multiple bouts of high intensity exercises, as well as single bouts of exercising lasting more than 30 seconds. So this isn't the quick burst that you'll find of energy from creatine, but does add to the 1-2 punch. With the two both being in Endurance 360, a lot of athletes are taking this amount, taking one or both of these supplements separately, but combining them in this easy to take form is a huge difference. Oh, there's everybody. And it's also been shown to delay the onset of neuromuscular fatigue, which definitely something I, after essentially now 6 weeks of taking beta-alanine, have found that there's definitely neuromuscularly the body is staying strong. The second major component that is in Endurance 360 is actually creatine, and it's essentially a compound that's used as a fuel source to generate power or energy during an intense effort. And creatine has been widely tested to known to enhance endurance athlete and actual power. So if you remember, this is something that you see or you hear being used in the bodybuilding scene to create muscle, but in our case and the dosing and the way that we use it as something that we use kind of as an everyday basis, it is something that we use for strength, to be able to do explosive, repeated, short bouts of efforts in 60 seconds or less, and having that on board allows us to have that explosive amount. Creatine is found in the body, found to be very, very safe as far as side effects and that sort of thing. All right. Just making sure, see if I can find any of the riders. I'm within a couple seconds of a couple of them, but otherwise we are all spread out the volcano here. So one interesting new part of Endurance 360 that riders may have not been exposed to before is cordyceps. And it's long used in traditional medicine for those with respiratory ailments, essentially to help patients that were having trouble breathing, or having patients that were having trouble with breathing most deeply, or using a full breath to its full potential. Essentially, the cordyceps were improving maximum amount of oxygen uptake for these people. So the amount of oxygen someone could take in at a time is what it found it to be able to improve. And so with that, cordyceps definitely can be found in teas, as well as of course in Endurance 360, something that we can use to increase the amount of oxygen that we're taking all throughout the workout, days both on and off the bike. Another one is radiola. It's another what we call like an adaptogen, and it's used by the Tibetan Sherpa people. Its original use as a route before heading up excursions to the top of Mount Everest. Let me message out to the group here. And oxygen studies show that radiola increases blood oxygenation and nutrition transportation. So between these two adaptogens, more and more you'll find these two and other adaptogens found in supplements, as well as both over the counter for just energy, just for overall well-being. But these are things that have been used by Eastern medicine for a very, very long time. To be able to increase these, the things that we're talking about. And so essentially we're picking and choosing the ones that apply to us as far as endurance, and able to kind of hone them in to be able to get the gains or the endurance benefits that we'd like to see during our training. It also been shown to reduce fatigue under stressful conditions. So all these are like very calming, very allow you to really tap into your full potential during your sport. The last part of it is an amino acid, which is very, very important. Essentially, amino acid you can think of as a broken up version of a protein. So we are all familiar with taking in protein as far as like post-workout recovery, making sure the muscles get built. But there are some amino acids specifically that we can take to help very, very define things as far as we are performing. And they're listed here. Pretty difficult kind of alphabet soup, but I can go over what they do. There are a couple that increase energy and concentration, eliminate toxins for better recovery, improve muscle function, carnosine, which works in conjunction with beta-alanine, and then decrease muscle fatigue, and increase exercise capacity. So you could get these in the protein form. Your body would still have to break them up, and then at that point be able to use them. But being in the amino acid form allows us to be able to use it directly or more quickly and absorb it more quickly. So definitely having these kind of focused amino acids in this blend can make a huge difference. So just a quick history. There are a lot of athletes that actually are currently using Endurance 360, including 3 national champions from the year past. And some really interesting stories that they have are that in actually 2016, there was a rider named Brett Crosby who was actually tested in competition by USADA while using Endurance 360. And so one question that we always have as we take an endurance product or anything really, if you're involved in any type of performance or racing, like with USA Cycling, you want to make sure that you're clean, essentially making sure you're not doing anything that you shouldn't be or taking anything that we shouldn't. So definitely Endurance 360 can be put on the clean list, because in that test, he actually won that race, so the Masters 40 race at the Tulsa Tough Criterium that year. And with his testing, months later, he was sent a letter congratulating him and saying that they were pleased to inform him that the results didn't indicate any presence of prohibitive substance. One unique thing about Endurance 360 is how it's made and the control that it has, or the control that the owners have over how it's made. It's made in a facility that is completely controlled in the fact that there are no other substances that can be misconstrued or mixed in with the product where you can get busted for. So as far as the ability to find a product that is as clean as possible, or something that you could know that's made by someone who has put a lot of thought, Cameron Hoffman and his partners have done that here, and it's made here in the States. So very, very clean. He's got a background that allows him the knowledge and ability to know what they need to do on the chemistry side of things. It's very, very easy for a supplement company to make a list of things that they want to have in their supplement, and they can pretty much made to order, and someone can put it into pills. But in fact, Endurance 360 is done with the oversight of the owner and their partners. So definitely something on the clean list, and definitely something that has plenty of control that will allow you to know that it is a clean, complete product. All right, so personal experiences with the product. So what I had done, let's say it would have been 6 weeks ago now, is I had washed out from all the other products I had taken, and I wasn't taking too much. I was taking an amino acid blend by Body Health, just to make sure that I was keeping on board with the protein as I was training on workout days, and then on days that I wasn't actually taking the amino acid, and then I was taking creatine, and had been taking creatine for a long time now and felt a pretty good experience with it. So I had washed out for that for about 7 to 10 days before I got started with the Endurance 360 about 6 weeks ago. And then at that point had switched over. So the way the dosing works for Endurance 360 is you actually take 5 of the pills, which essentially is like the same amount you would take for creatine, which is 5 grams of creatine, 5 grams of beta-alanine, all the adaptogens and all the energy blends, as well as the amino acids, all that kind of smashed together. And it's actually pretty easy to take. The pills are probably the size of maybe a liquid Advil, pretty decent size. I actually should have brought it out, but definitely not tough to put down. Funny thing was I was not used to taking a lot of supplements on the days that I don't train. So like the 2 or 3 rest days, I would almost forget, but I would try to put in time so that I can remember. So I think that was one of the challenges. And as far as side effects, we have talked about a couple different things, but the main one being from beta-alanine, but not necessarily a negative. But just something very normal. It is essentially a warming feeling that you find, and some riders may attribute it to maybe even like a slight tingling feeling, but nothing uncomfortable. I think if anything, it would be most of it would be from the experience of on the bike. You really don't feel anything because you're moving and kind of starting your workout and your warm up. Because I would do, wake up on the bike within like 15, taking everything within that 15 minutes, and on the bike before 30 minutes from when I wake up. Really not any food in before the workout, but if the workout was longer than 30 minutes, definitely fueling and getting food on board, but really wouldn't feel it then. The days that were interesting were the days where I'd go to work, I head into the office, and I would definitely could feel, you'd feel it on your skin, you could feel it in your hands, and I would say it's just a couple hours, not even more than 2. But with my normal levels of hydration and things like that, I was able to kind of overcome those pretty easily. But just something that you knew, where essentially things were working or things were there. So it's something that I feel like it wasn't a negative way where I wasn't able to perform or do the things I needed to do. I think as far as advantages, I definitely feel like the work that I did, and if any of you guys follow kind of my workout schedule, I do plenty of SST, amounting to some workouts doing amounting to 90 minutes of SST, SST being around 90 to 95% of your FTP. So definitely pushing that just below threshold power. And one of the reasons why I was building that was I had a ride at the end of the 4 weeks, culminating to a pretty big climbing ride that had 2 really challenging climbs that were both in the 45 to 50 minute approximate pace or time that it was going to take to get up. So I was kind of dialing those in to make sure that I would be able to do, let's say, SST for that amount of time comfortably, and be able to do attacks or spurts where I can put the power up above that. Also did plenty of VO2 max work. That's at 120% of FTP, 3, 4, 5 minutes at that, and then kind of the lower levels at 110% as well. And I feel like not so much, I would say during the workout felt pretty steady, but I think more so where I found that this product could make a difference was during recovery. A lot of times during longer, harder workouts, the day after or even the day of, headed to work, since I work out in the morning, what I would find is that I would find fatigue setting in pretty early in the day. And as I went throughout the day, I'd kind of feel very heavy legs. And so what would happen is that with the product, I felt almost like by the end of the day, and I actually even started adding it to the end of the day, I would be able to have a good enough feeling to be able to, spin out or maybe do a zone 2 workout or something like that at the end of the day to add, TSS filler throughout the, as a second workout in the day, which I do prescribe to a lot of my athletes, but never really had much time. But through this experiment, I was able to kind of look at that and add that. So I feel like definitely the recovery time was decreased, or I was able to start recovering a lot more quickly, or more surprisingly quickly, especially with the workouts that we were doing. On the day of our ride, I feel like it performed really well, especially with the combination of it. It definitely out on the road, there's a lot more. I feel like mental things going on, as far as with other riders. If you're let's say chasing riders or trying to catch, not breaks per se, it's just a group ride, but trying to close gaps on riders that may be faster than you, or just kind of keep pushing yourself to continue to be pushing yourself above that level. I think it was definitely very strong. I felt very clear on the day of our long ride. It's essentially 4 hours in the saddle. I was able to dig pretty deep as far as pushing myself, which I feel like in the past I've done those climbs and just felt wasted even after the first, but we ended up going another hour and a half to do to transit to the second one, and I was able to do that as well. I mean, the day ended up with something like 7,200 feet of climbing, but definitely felt, even on the final downhill of 10 to 12 miles coming off the course, felt pretty strong and didn't feel trashed even the next day. Of definitely fatigue from working out, but not mentally trashed, because a lot of times after a long time on the bike, for 3, 4, 5 hours on the bike, definitely you can get mental fatigue. And that's one thing that as riders ride for longer periods, you want to kind of avoid because it could definitely dull the experience of what you're trying to do. So overall, I would say if as far as a recommendation, I don't do a whole lot of supplements, but I would say that Endurance 360, if you have a chance, obviously you are probably taking some of these, one of these, or both. I would say give it a chance to an opportunity to do its thing, because it does have a lot of added like the cordyceps that I mentioned, the adaptogens, as well as the amino acid blend that will allow for better recovery and neurological benefits during your ride, as well as kind of the two staples of creatine and beta alanine, which makes it easy, because normally you would take beta alanine throughout a day, maybe in small doses, and then you would take creatine kind of with other things. So it takes out of having to do a smoothie, having to do shakes throughout the day, and just taking it at one time and just have one and done. And it's just done in the morning before your workout or just with a meal, and you just go at it and you just go on with your day. So it makes it really simple to make sure you're doing everything on your side to get the supplements that you would like in to meet your endurance goals, as well as knowing that it's coming from a clean source, somewhere where it's being controlled and from a very great group. And so Cameron Hoffman did offer a code. So go back to the July Zwift Live event, and if you have any problems purchasing it, I know that we had cleared up a couple issues of getting it to the UK, but that's been cleared up. But overall, from the riders and the athletes that I've had try it, they've also been very, very positive. So if you have a chance, definitely reach out to me if you have any questions. Cameron Hoffman from Endurance 360 is very good at answering questions as well on the science side of things, but definitely something that I would recommend a try. Grab 3 bottles, give it 3 months, give it a block of your training, off season, on season, whatever part of the season I think could be a benefit. So definitely look into this product. Want more information here about the product, you can go to endurance360.com. It's got plenty of information there. You could always reach out to us at Team ODZ. Here in the feed zone, we've got plenty of information that we could share. You could reach us at all channels at Zwift Live or Team ODZ. And don't forget, all the videos are also available on YouTube as well. We have a YouTube channel that's a little bit easier to kind of go back and listen to. So check out the YouTube channel. Also subscribe if you have a chance as well there. Okay, that's all I had here. I'm going to take a quick look to see if there's any questions. Thanks for everybody coming on. Hope this was of interest of everybody, and we'll be back next week with another exciting topic here in the feed zone. Doesn't look like there's any questions, but thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you do, I will post links to Endurance 360 and some of the other studies that I found that are pertaining to this topic here in the feed zone after the feed today. But otherwise, if there's not any questions on Zwift Live or here on Discord, I will sign off here, and I will see everyone else next week in the feed zone. Right on.